Good afternoon, executives of the College of Westchester, faculty, and the mighty 2016 grads. Life is going to change. The theme today is education is the great equalizer. And I certainly believe that. My wife of 35 years believes that. And Kay, will you please stand? And one of my sons, and that's Harry III. 12 days ago, he got his MBA from Babson College. His second postgraduate degree. His twin brother this fall will receive his MBA from Johns Hopkins University. And that is his second postgraduate degree. We got them prepared, and all they have to do is just do what was taught and believed that they believed in. Now, Isabel Sawhill, education, quote, education is the quintessential way in which people move beyond the circumstances of one's birth. Now, many of you come from common ground. Many of you don't have a father. Many of you had it rough. You couldn't eat fully. You didn't wear clean clothes or fresh clothes. But now that's all gone because education is the equalizer. Life is good, and congratulate yourselves again for that. One of my heroes is Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was a freed slave. He lived in Charleston, West Virginia, and he had the craving to be educated. He demanded to be educated, and finally he was accepted into Hampton, Virginia University, Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. He didn't have transportation money to get to Hampton from Charleston, but he was going to get educated. Booker T. Washington walked 392 miles to start his education. Walked it. And after he graduated from Hampton, he felt that education could be one step higher for the freed slaves of the United States. If they wanted to assimilate into this great society, they must first get educated and then become entrepreneurial, to where you're educated, you've got the backbone and the essentials to start a business, to hire folks. And he said, if we just start our own businesses, educate ourselves, not only will we survive in this country, we will thrive. Booker T. Washington was the inspiration of Kay and I when we started the National Black Chamber of Commerce. We're celebrating our 24th anniversary next month. My story. My parents were poor. They grew up in Louisiana. They moved to California to work wherever they could. They didn't get past the 8th grade. There was no high school where they came from. That was part of the Jim Crow South. Do not educate blacks. They went to school 3 months a year. December, January, February, the winter months. Then they worked the field for the next 9 months. But they learned how to read, write, and arithmetic, and they were done. But they instilled into me and my brother hard work and education will get it all done. That was when I started believing in education. And I knew my parents didn't have the money to pay for my college education, and I didn't know what I was going to do. But one Saturday afternoon, I was watching the mighty USC Trojans play the mighty UCLA Bruins in football, and saw half the team was black, and half of them, and all of them were from common grounds. But they got scholarships because they could play football. So I decided I was going to learn how to play football. And in my junior year, I got a letter from the coach of UCLA who said, we're watching you, and perform like you're performing, and if your school is a winning team, we will consider you for a scholarship. So I went crazy. I just started playing football. I slept with football. I pumped weights year-round. I ran. And finally, I got a calling, but it wasn't from UCLA. It was from a bunch of schools. But University of Wisconsin impressed me the most. And there I went to school, and I got a degree. I remember graduation day. We were in the football stadium, graduating to many thousands of new graduates. From there, Procter & Gamble hired me based on my grades, based on my competitiveness as a Big Ten football player. I was all set to go to work at Procter & Gamble in June. I got a letter in April from the Selective Service that says, congratulations, you are drafted into the U.S. Army. And I called my future employer, and the boss says, listen, your job is guaranteed. I suggest to you that you apply for Officer Candidate School, which would give you further training and leadership skills. And that would give you a jump start once you do come and work for us. So I applied for Officer Candidate School. I aced the test. I was going on my way to become a United States officer in the Army. Now, we got there, 230 of us, all in the same shape, all graduates, some with families, to become an officer and to lead. And about halfway in, they assemble us, and the battalion commander says, we're sorry, we're not going to have any more officer candidate schools. We got too many officers. So you're going to become privates and work as enlisted men. A buck private back then was making $134 a month. And some of these guys had 2 kids. It was going to destroy us. And our federal government, through the Department of Defense, was reneging on a contract to us. And we got together and started talking, and I said, Hoagie, doesn't your mother work for Senator Barry Goldwater, the most powerful senator in Washington, D.C.? Yes, he does. She does. I said, call her and tell them what they're doing to us and ask her to talk to Senator Goldwater. An hour later, he calls back, and his mother says, tell your fellas, don't worry, Uncle Barry's going to take care of everything. And we said, yeah, sure, right. 11 o'clock the next morning, the battalion commander assembles us again. We worked it out for you. You're going to go to OCS after all. And that showed me the power of politics. It controls everything, left, right, down the center. And that was a strong lesson to me. Become powerful and be able to use that power. And you students out there, you're just starting. Many of you are going to go back to school. Brother over there is going to law school, Florida State University. I love it. You are future leaders of this great country. And I inspire you to keep your heads up and think about that. You have a responsibility to your families, to your loved ones, and to this nation to take control of this country, which right now is kind of messed up. And I don't know where it's going, but I pray to God it's going to end right. Now, there will be consequences when you try to do the right thing. There will be people approaching you who are trying to destroy you for trying to do the right thing. Our mission is to try to economically empower African Americans and African American communities through entrepreneurship and capitalistic activity. That does not rub some leaders the right way. And I've had about 5 mayors, 2 governors, and 1 president try to break us down. But we stood firm because we know we were right. We had a Constitution, and the Civil Rights Act passed back in 1965, and we deal with them. We deal with them. And I learned that from one of my other heroes. That is Frederick Douglass. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom, yet deprecate agitation, are men who want crops without plowing up the ground. They want rain without thunder and lightning. They want the ocean without the awful roar of its many waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but it must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and never will. Men may not get all they pay for in this world, but they must certainly pay for all that they get. So don't worry about the struggles, it's just a pass-through. Keep your head up. When I got out of the Army, I would say to myself, I am And I thank graduates of the College of Westchester. Let me hear you say, I am. All right, a little weak over there. One more time, I am. Now we're talking. And when you become leaders, which you already have started on, and there are people who work under you and with you and over you, practice good governance. Treat them fair and impartially. Do not waver, do not quiver, and when you have to meet someone who is over you and confronts you, study up on the way to dialogue with that person and to sell what you believe is right. It works most of the time. Good governance. Frederick Douglass, who I quoted, he was a runaway slave. He beat up his master and ran to Maryland and then to Massachusetts. He became a distinguished orator and led the right to free slaves, the abolitionist movement. He would spend one-on-one with Abraham Lincoln often. And Abraham Lincoln was indebted to him because he, Frederick Douglass, a runaway slave, was the founder of the Republican Party. Many people don't know that. Booker T. Washington was an educator, but he also walked the walk, just not talk the talk. Tuskegee Institute in Alabama, he built that institute off a loan from a church. He wanted to make a prize institution for blacks. He didn't have enough money, but what he did, he got craftsmen and people who wanted to be educated. He got them to help build a school in exchange for their tuition. They built the buildings, they built the furniture, they built all of the infrastructure. Today, Tuskegee Institute is one of the finest institutions in the land. It's now Tuskegee University. It has the finest veterinarian school, which is rated higher than Harvard's. Anybody in the construction and engineering business will hire a Tuskegee engineer just by receiving a resume. No interview needed. We believe in Tuskegee. Now, when you get into the shops and there's things that don't go right, don't be dictatorial, don't be cocky. You don't have to be on the right Republican. You don't have to be on the left Democrat. Just be true to God and your faith. I'm an independent, and I'll tell both of them off if they cross me. And they have crossed me. Here's one. Don't idle, do not stagnate. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot lift the wage career up by pulling the wage payer down. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could do and should for themselves. That's important, and that's what's missing in this country. You've got a lot of people on the dole. You got a lot of people, go ahead, that's fine. You got a lot of people at the top thinking with their greed and uncurable avarice to try to take it from the poor. You've got lobbyists who are on the take for anything. You've got lobbyists that will defend mass murderers. You got lobbyists that will defend some of the most heinous people in the world for $75,000 a month. That has got to stop. That has got to stop. So don't idle, don't be stagnant, set your goals and move forward. You'll find it enjoyable. And let me say something by President Theodore Roosevelt, which was one of the greatest presidents in the world. When Theodore Roosevelt became president, the United States did not extend beyond the Mississippi River. When he got through with it, we were all over the continent, plus we had Hawaii, we had Samoa, we had Guam, we had Puerto Rico, and a few others. That's when America truly became great, from the manifest destiny belief of Teddy Roosevelt. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena. whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while doing greatly. So that is his place, shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. So this is one of the happiest moments of your life. The next moment is when you get your next degree, or when you marry that girl next door and have a couple of kids. Each time it gets better. That lady over there has been with me 35 years. And one of the best things she ever said to me, when I lost my mother, she says, "Listen, I'm your mama now." So I've had great moments with President Bush, President Clinton. I've had great moments with others. We brought Katrina, we brought in $3.5 billion in economic development from a conversation I had with George W. Bush. Contractors prevailed. New Orleans is back on its feet, and this year we're going back to New Orleans to celebrate all that. But when I go, when it's my time, and it's coming, I want my tombstone to say, this is from 2 Timothy, 4th chapter, 7th verse. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. That is what I long for, and that is what I live. I love you, College Westchester. Bless you. Praise the Lord. Go forth. Stand courage. You get... Stand courageous, and I pledge to you, things get tight, things get rough. Get my contact info from your faculty, and I'll be there for you to help. Thank you.